Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon.
How are you doing today?
I mean, excited to do the video with you, Jonathan. I can't tell how much excitement is building up inside me for the coming season. But yeah, thank you for joining us on Follow Everton for the very first 2023-24 match preview ahead of Everton versus Fulham at home at Goodison Park this coming weekend, 3 o'clock. We are good to go. Thank you, everybody, for joining us live in the middle of the day. Clearly, you're bunking off work. What about you, Jonathan? Are you bunking off work?
I'm working from home, so enjoying the casual lifestyle. But yeah, all of a sudden, since we've just gone live, I've just felt a sudden wave of nervous energy take over me. And it's really hit that the season is about to begin. To be honest, obviously, it's been a very stressful past few years. And I feel like this year there's still going to be some stress to it, but hopefully we can do better. But yeah, nervous energy as we're about to start the new season from me.
Yeah, and also slightly nervous energy because Jonathan here, the lovely, insightful, articulate Jonathan, has decided, just letting you guys know, that Jonathan is stepping up to take a bigger role in the channel. And with that, we sort of would like to inform you that Domino Chris, very much thank him for his efforts on the channel. He's decided to take steps in another direction. He's doing a lot of his own personal stuff on the back of his stadium tours of baseball grounds and the poker and domino, the gaming things that he does on his own channel. And Jeff is, for his own reasons, has taken a step back from the channel. He's obviously working nights and driving around. But with that in mind, we wish them all the best and thank them for their contribution to Follow Everton. I feel like I've got Ryan's hand up my bum, just telling me what to say here. But yeah, Jonathan here is going to be one of the more prominent faces. So yeah, good luck to both of them. And yes, welcome to the more of a front seat role, John.
I hope the audience don't mind, and I hope I don't irritate them too much. But we'll see. Early doors so far.
Yeah, I mean, we are prepared. We are prepared for these eventualities and the football and the blood pressure medication for watching Everton. We have some team news. Did you watch the presser?
I did. I feel like he doesn't give too much away. He sort of just gives you little snippets, which I kind of like. I'd hope to hear more in the post-match conference after we batter Fulham. But I like that he's keeping his cards close to his chest, not revealing too much. And as long as he has a plan and he knows what he's doing, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, he did say there's a plan, there's a mentality. He always talks about energy. And speaking of energy, we are trying to be positive and not too negative and miserable in here. So on that note, very, very big welcome to everyone, regulars, newcomers, people watching us afterwards. Thank you for joining us. Do hit the like and subscribe and get notifications for all the videos that we do. We will be doing our regular previews, pre-match, post-match, and breaking news. But speaking of breaking news, some of the questions that were brought up were about transfer requirements. And I don't know if you noticed this. Ryan noticed this, and I did, and he didn't trust me that I'd mention it on my own. But it was quite interesting that Sean Dyche never really mentions things, but he was happy to talk about Youssef CHERMITI. He said, "You can ask me about him."
Yeah, I think he said that he's very close to finishing the deal and he doesn't mind mentioning it. So it's positive from that perspective. Usually, as you say, he wouldn't be mentioning anything. So something to look forward to there. So yeah, it's something to look forward to and being more positive. He did. Obviously, we'll get more into it, but he mentioned we do have a few injuries or a few little things which might be holding us back and could be a cause for concern. Do you want to address some of them?
Well, yeah. I mean, will DCL be fit? Ryan seems to think that of course he'll be fit. How can he not be fit?
Nice of Ryan to have his own opinion. I wouldn't be too sure. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin is a player who, in the past, we've seen incredible talent from. I think when Duncan Ferguson was there, he was able to fly in with headers. He'd be exactly where we'd need him to be, and he'd be able to contribute. Whereas now, I think it's a bit more of a struggle. He's very injury prone, and he's just not a reliable source that we can have going throughout the season. So to bring in a different striker who's young, who's passionate, who might be able to do the same, could be a very interesting change and balance to the team that we need.
Yeah, I mean, he did say that. Hi everyone, hi Nikki, hi James, hi Kevin, all the regulars. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you joining. So he did say, or someone posed the question about we have several players down the middle, and Dyche mentioned that it's unusual but not impossible that it could happen again. That we have 3 or 4 players ruled out, and there are only a very small number of goals that came from recognised strikers. So. Yeah, it would be a bit alarming, but to know that Yusuf CHERMITI's coming in, he said he's got the raw talent and he's got the opportunity to grow. So, he's talking about changing the team. Dan Juma, as far as I'm aware, wasn't addressed as fit, but he's not on the website as the Everton injuries and suspensions as injured. So hopefully it could just been a case of getting him up to the standards that, that are measured internally at the club. There was no Gray in the Sporting Lisbon game. And he seemed to be good for a goal when he came up for the 1 in 3 games that he did play. But it was interesting that he mentioned McNeil and Coleman are out. But when in talking about the players that he said, normally he doesn't name drop. But the fact that he mentioned Gray, Gomez, and Holgate when he was talking about departing players, it did make me wonder if it's like, well, why are you name dropping them? So maybe.
Yeah. It's interesting, but I think as well, especially at the start of the season, we've had some pre-season games which Dyche said were positive, but again, I think you see some of our past issues where we're not getting the goals, because pre-season, I think you want to see comfortable wins, a bit of a showboat, and just a bit of a go at it. Whereas if we're only winning 1-0 or 0-0s, then it's not
From
really
a penalty.
the type of it's not open play. Like, you don't see the talent that we're expecting to see in the new season. But obviously things take time. Dyche is still a new manager, came in towards last season. So it takes time for him to gel with players to gel with each other. If we're making new signings or they're changing the systems, then it's going to take time getting used to it. But it does sound like they are being positive. It's not like he's come out. It would be a bit bad to come out and say this, but it's not like he wants to be in another relegation battle. He does want to improve on our current position, which obviously is nice to hear. But I think it will take time for all these players to gel together. And I don't think we have a particularly hard start. There are opportunities for us to get some points in and just start ahead of the bar. So hopefully we can take advantage of those situations.
Well, he did mention that he wants to change or address the imbalance in the squad, which, and has been done to a certain extent. I mean, we've got rid of quite a few players, and some have left on freeze. It's when you talk about the start that I've got for the season, though, we're home to Fulham, away to Villa, at home to Wolves. Speaking of Wolves. Then we're away to Sheffield United that's the first 4 games before we're away to Arsenal, but then it's Brentford, Luton, Bournemouth, and then the derby against Liverpool. So they're sort of punctuated by
away in the cup as well.
Oh,
I don't know if you said that, but
no, I didn't. Sorry. But the interesting thing, if we could, I just thought that would be interesting to get in there. Wolves, Fulham have signed Raul Jimenez. I don't know whether you rate him. He's a very tricky player, isn't he? Or at least
I think depending on what system you put him in, I think he can be utilized a lot. It depends on the people you have around him, but I think he has got talent. And it depends if he fits in the system.
Yeah, well, that's why I was thinking in terms of Fulham, because he didn't mention Fulham very much in the presser. I don't know, you watched it and I did, and I don't know how many people here. Give us a thumbs up if you thought that it was a bit underwhelming. Maybe it's because we've missed football and you wanted some more, but it seemed very short and very, okay, there's a football match going on. There's been some players going. There's a couple of injuries, which you can find on the website. Right, bye, see ya.
Yeah, I think if we go back a year where it was the start of last season, and we didn't do anything in the transfer window. Everyone was panicking. We could see that we were going to be absolutely stuck. We got rid of Richarlison, who was like the saviour of our season, as well as Pickford, but for goal scoring. And now they are actually making some signings of strikers to try and get some goals in. So although we have a few injuries, they are trying to change that around. So it's a lot more positive than we were at the start of last season. And I don't see why we can't have a good go. We have a decent start to the season with the fixtures that we have, and we need to capitalise on that. I think other people, we can talk about predictions for our season and other people around us in more depth after, but I think with some of the teams that we're playing early on, they are sort of must-win games, because if you look last season, even before Boxing Day, I'm pretty sure we lost to the team that was 20th like 3 weekends on a row. We lost to West Ham, who were bottom of the time, Wolves, who were bottom of the time, and Southampton, who were bottom of the time, or something like that. So it's crucial that we do.
There.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is crucial that we win those games and push on, but I'm hopeful.
So Chloe's just said here, it was, but don't just pander to the... No, of course. Thanks for, the injuries that we've got. Coleman and McNeil are out. Coleman's got that knee, obviously, still ongoing. McNeil's got sort of an unknown injury. Didn't really mention what it was. Was it an ankle, I think?
Yeah, left ankle.
Yeah, ankle ligament. So he's not had that before. So it should be a matter of weeks, hopefully. So Coleman's out. They did mention that Tarkowski is going to was just a precaution, and he's been given the sort of vice captaincy because he wants an on-pitch captain. Understandable, because it's Pickford can't be running up everywhere, and you need a sort of an on-pitch outfield presence to approach the referee. Although no doubt we'll probably be the first one that gets our captain yellow carded for approaching the referee, which should be, who knows? We'll wait and see. DCL is touch and go, need to make a call later in the week. Dele is got a bit of a setback. He's re-injured himself, but on a personal welfare, he's doing a lot better, which, I want to see him play again. I hope he comes good, because, that I watched that interview with Gary Neville, although I had to just tune out Gary Neville. But in terms of Fulham's injuries, Fulham have got Palhinha, who's out. Tom Kearney is out injured. But Raul Jimenez is coming from Wolves, and they've got a new centre-back, Calvin Bassey, I don't know, from Ajax. And there's rumours about Mitrovic. I don't know how much is just nonsense or his agent angling for a move, but claiming he doesn't want to play for Fulham again.
Interesting. He was very high up on the goal scorer sheet last season, wasn't he? Wasn't he in like the top 5-10 goal scorers? Maybe.
Oh, you're making me do on-screen work here, Jonathan. He was.
Yeah, I think it was very. I'm not sure how many came from penalties, but I'm pretty sure he was very high up. My thing's loading, so we'll find out shortly.
Carling 36. Oh no, maybe not.
No.
Odegaard's on 15.
Kevin said he scored 11.
Oh, he scored 11. I mean,
that's probably more than Everton put together, but
wow.
Maybe if Calvert-Lewin was on firing form, he'd score 11 goals, but have to wait for his injury.
So it's possible that we could see CHERMITI in the squad, maybe. He was banned for, he would an 8-match ban or something. For, yeah.
Okay, so maybe before that he finished 10th in goal scorers with 14, 4 from a pen. But if he's out for 11 games, like a third of the season, then he's one to watch.
So in terms of teams, I think it's very difficult for us to say what Fulham will do, because, I mean, they got Gazzaniga back and sent him back out, or sold him, didn't they? They've only really made 2 high-profile signings in Jimenez and Bassey. So we're probably going to see Jimenez, but I don't know whether that's going to be a replacement for Mitrovic. We'll have to see, because well, I don't know. I mean, so in terms of Everton's, I don't know. We don't want to get bogged down in transfers, because there's undoubtedly going to be, in the next few weeks, a hell of a lot more news coming out. But Gnonto, personally, although a higher price tag, I'd prefer Wilfred Gnonto to this Hugo Ekitike because you don't know, is an unknown quantity for someone who's been pushed to the fringes at PSG, and Gnonto's got a quality to him, a proven caliber. He did play against Cardiff, but he wasn't in the team against Shrewsbury. But then again, Shrewsbury, you know.
Premier League is a very different standard and quality, and obviously Haaland is proven that he's just different gravy when it comes to goal scoring. But for a player to come in and have their first season in the Prem or for a different team, I feel like it will take time for you to gel with your other teammates and get used to the standard, because it is very intense, very high pace, depending on what team you watch. But it's going to take time. So
Yeah.
it will be, first game's always going to be an interesting one. Everyone try and get their feet sorted.
And in terms of what we've seen in the preseason, I mean, I've seen some highlights, and I was at the Sporting Lisbon game, and what I will say is, I've heard people say, Everton held it together quite well, their shape and stuff. But you have to bear in mind, football is a game of, well, not just two halves, but two teams. And Sporting didn't do anything to put us under pressure. And when we did, like you say, we didn't play exhibition style football, which was, again, it was a bit of an anticlimax for me. But then that's always what preseason is, isn't it? Yeah. So we do need to sign. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm getting caught by Peter's comment here. This is what I'm saying. Surviving relegation requires a club to sign Premier League proven players. That's the point.
Yeah.
So, sorry. So yeah, I mean, although Gray might be outgoing, he didn't have the staying power. Thanks, Robbie. He didn't have the staying power that he played one in every 2 or 3 matches, and he didn't feature in the game at all. We saw. I mean, the lineup against Sporting was Pickford, obviously, in goal. Young, Godfrey, Tarkowski, and Patterson. And we saw Branthwaite come on, who did a very good job, I think. Mikalenko came on, and he's still recovering from a bit of an injury, although there were a couple of moments when the ball was pinging up in the air when he maybe should have just kicked it out. If in doubt, kick it out.
Hoof it out, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ashley Young scored his first goal as well during pre-season. Obviously, we have not signed him as a striker, but he's someone with many years of experience. So hopefully, if we can find the balance between the young players and the old players, and they can learn from each other and utilize each other's skills, that's what the team is for. It's not to show your strength, but to cover each other's weaknesses as well. So if they can all be and work as a unit, then looks a lot more positive as well.
Yeah. So I think we've sort of covered. Oh no, there is one last piece of transfer news. Now, I'm probably going to end up eating my words for saying this, but you'll be rather glad, anyone who doesn't know, to know that West Ham have had a bid accepted, I believe, for Harry Maguire.
Yes, I think I saw that.
Yeah, because I don't know about anybody out there, but we do need a centre back, I suppose you could argue, possibly. Although Keane did come on and he did a decent job, and Godfrey did a relatively decent job. He's been chopped and changed. Oh, he wasn't bad.
I'm sorry, I love Everton, but Michael Keane is literally like, I'd rather play with 10 men than have Michael Keane, and the reason is because whenever he's on the pitch, he's the most unreliable player. I think there was a comparison last season, and it was when Tarkowski was playing and when Keane was playing, and the amount of times we conceded goals and lost the game with Keane on, it was like the biggest difference. I feel like he makes a hole in the team, and the players just fall apart, and it becomes such an easy target for people to score goals. And I think the only good thing Michael Keane did last season was when he banged it against Spurs, and he equalised. But I literally, if Keane is on the pitch, I have zero hope for us. And I mean, a highlight reel, or like not a highlight reel, but like a bad reel of clips can obviously make anyone look really bad. But Maguire, I genuinely think would be horrific as well. Like, I just don't see who's just said that. Yeah, them as a pairing, oh my God, would be in the Championship before the season even started. Like, yeah, I'd rather not see Keane on the pitch. My opinion.
And David's right as well. People were talking about seeing Barkley in Liverpool and a return to Everton. He's gone to Luton, hasn't he?
Yeah. Good luck to him. I think people weren't very happy with his attitude when he was here. Wasn't really a hard worker. Obviously, he's got natural talent, but yeah, good luck to him. That's all I really have to say on him.
Yeah.
Do you want
So
to, before we go on to predictions for Everton Fulham, do you want to talk a little bit about Premier League predictions, where we're going to finish? Who do you think the relegation will be? Just a few key pointers. Have you not given it much thought?
I really haven't, because I'm trying to avoid the terrifying dread of, God, I don't want to be involved in a relegation scrap. I don't want to see us in the relegation zone at all.
Well, my friend and I did a prediction last season, and we did 1 to 20 where everyone would finish. I predicted we would survive. I think I put us 16th, and my mate put us 17th. And we were fairly accurate with all of them. So I'll give you my predictions if you want, and people in the comments feel free to put who the bottom 3 to get relegated, or who's winning the league, or where do you think Everton will finish. So I said Man City would win the league and Arsenal would finish second. I'll do top 4. Newcastle, then United. I said Liverpool would finish 6th.
Sorry, you broke up there. You said Man City. Sorry. You said Man City won the league. Arsenal finished second.
City first, Arsenal second, Newcastle third, Man United 4th, Spurs 5th, Liverpool 6th, because they haven't signed. They signed McAllister, who is a decent signing, but I think their club is falling apart at the moment. Obviously, all their inhalers and everything, not to mention. But
they've got an aging. They do have quite an aging squad, especially defensively.
Yeah, and they haven't really brought much in. I think
Oxlade
Arsenal signing.
Gone, isn't he? Was he at them last season, or was it the season before? I don't know. Anyway,
I'm not sure. But Arsenal signing Rice, I think, is a big signing, which also will harm West Ham massively. Anyway, I'll drop down a bit because middle table's a bit irrelevant for us, I would argue. I said West Ham would finish 15th. I said Everton would finish 16th, which I will happily take because it's an improvement. And as long as it's not a stressful relegation battle, I don't mind. I said Forest would finish 17th. And then my 3 to go down would be Wolves, Luton, and Sheffield United.
Wolves.
Because I think they were struggling on the back end of last season. They had a few decent results, which were a bit lucky to get the 3 points and push them higher up than they should have been. And their signings have been weak. So
just to let you guys know, we both appreciate and can see all the comments coming in. Not always going to put them in like when they're appropriate to what we're saying. And unfortunately, some of them are humorous from an objective point of view. So thank you for making us giggle. David agrees
just on that.
Go
on.
Oh, sorry. David agrees with you on the bottom 3. Wolves look like they're in trouble now.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were going to say. I was going to jump.
I was just addressing some comments. Be happy with 12th in a good cup run. I think 12th is very ambitious. I think there are other teams who have slowly built up over the past. I think Villa will do well. I think Brighton, Brentford. I think Burnley will do well as well, which will be a very interesting opening game. If you don't know, it's Man City versus Burnley, so it's sort of Pep versus company. So that should be a good, interesting one to watch. I think Palace are low mid-table. They just don't seem to connect that well, and they sort of guaranteed that bottom mid-table finish. I think the important thing, as Ian said, is a good cup run. I would love to see us just secure a non-relegation battle, slowly build up the team, and actually have a good run at the cup. Play our strongest team every round.
I will. We are gonna again, Chloe. Thank you for that. We can see what's going on. John's brought this up. I don't want to chop and change too much, so it's worth bringing this up, and then we'll go back to the game. Just mix it up a little bit, keep it entertaining. I see Luton. Unfortunately, it's lovely to see a smaller club because they've risen quite rapidly from finishing relatively near the bottom of the championship. And them rising up and come through. But I don't see them surviving. Sheffield United as well, possibly well, quite probably. I don't know if I agree with you on Wolves. Wolves could be there. Crystal Palace, again, like you say, they are hit and miss. But if they get into a bit of sort of a run into a vein of form, possibly. But I don't see Forest doing very well.
I don't either. I think I put them just below us, I think. But to be honest, apart from last season, it was like there was before 5 games left or so, or maybe 8 games. There was about half the table that could have been relegated. Like Southampton were guaranteed to go down, and then all the way up to like Chelsea, who actually were very lucky that they got so many points under Tuchel because they were flopping hard, and they had too many signings, didn't really know what to do with it. But everyone below them was sort of in a relegation battle. There was Palace until they had Hodgson, Wolves, West Ham were struggling massively, Bournemouth, who had like a miracle recovery, Forest, Everton, Leicester, Leeds. We were all in a massive battle, and I think it's going to be a similar sort of thing. Forest like had a big run towards the end to get them into safety, but it's going to be very close again. And just on another point, who was it that said? Someone said I should probably rethink Spurs now that Kane's gone. That was it, David. Yeah,
Yes, that was
that's a
very
good point.
point.
I made this 2 days ago. That was before he went, so maybe I would drop them down.
Has he
a few places.
100% gone?
No, but so he released a thing. I think they agreed on talking terms and he would be approached. But I think Kane said that he is more likely to stay at Spurs than leave and go somewhere else. So it's obviously up for him to decide. But if he goes, then they will be in some trouble. It'll be interesting. We've got a few predictions as well coming in, finishing 15th. I would take that. I think that would be a big improvement. And I think the problem is, in the past, the reason where we are is because we've had very poor recruitment. We keep chopping and changing managers with no real plan. And while this is all happening, we are slowly deteriorating and getting worse and worse. Meanwhile, all these middle teams who used to be bottom table, for example, or not bottom, not relegation, but like lower the bottom end.
They've been improving their squads while we've had our best players picked out.
Yeah. Villa, Brentford, Brighton, Burnley, Palace, all these teams who are getting results against us. They used to be no competition, would be like, yeah, easy 3 points, thank you very much. Whereas now it's very much the other way around and we're actually struggling against them. So it's not going to be an easy process. It's not going to be like next season, oh yeah, I want to finish 5th. Let's get Europa League, put the pressure back on. It's going to be a slow grind. And hopefully we just start moving in the right direction.
I mean, we played that French team in the preseason, and we've not, I don't know if anyone here has gone to any of them and travelled. I mean, Bolton was 0-0, unfortunately. Stoke, was that the one that Ashley Young scored, or was it that what's his name? I've got it on the programme here, the young lad. But then, obviously, Sporting Lisbon. Somebody asked before about Fulham's pre-season. They've played relatively, well, Premier League clubs. They played Brentford, and they won 3-2. I can't say I watched any of these. I'm sorry I didn't watch football, Fulham's pre-season games. They played Brentford, and they won home 3-2. They were at home against Villa, and they lost 2-0. But, Villa seemed to be doing quite well. They lost at Chelsea 2-0, and they were at home against Hoffenheim, and they won 2-1. So it's not ideal. And I do know that... that was Nonto at Leeds. I do know that Fulham are one of those teams historically, or they used to be the case, that they played better away than they did at home sometimes, which is really strange. Any views expressed that are made by our viewers or commenters are and do belong only to the person.
Yeah. I think I misclicked that one.
So in terms of tactics and what we're going to see with additions, well, I think we're going to see a very similar lineup to what we saw against Sporting, because Gray, if he's going to go, won't be on the team. We've got Jonathan and Yanndalf, who's a centre-back. We've got Goodison Park, who's a right-back. We've got Fulham, who's a right-back. We've got Sean Dyche, who's a left-back. We've got Jonathan and Yanndalf, who's a centre-back. We've got Gray, if he's going to go, won't be on the team. Holgate didn't feature really, unless was he on the bench. Gomez came on, but there was no, that was only a token gesture towards the end, the sort of last 10 minutes, I think. So I don't know if there was any. I'm only mentioning the ones that Sean Dyche has mentioned. There's no other real sign that hopefully no signs that we're going to lose anyone. Yeah, so that's them three. So we're probably going to see Pickford, Young, Godfrey, Tarkowski, Patterson, Onana, Doucouré, Garner, Iwobi, and if he's fit,
Yeah.
DCL. If not, Mope.
Yeah.
Do you think we might? I mean, I think it's too soon to chuck this use of CHERMITI in the team.
And Danjuma wasn't really mentioned either, was he?
No, actually, that's an interesting one. Sorry, but like I said, I completely forgot that we signed him on loan. Yeah, he might appear in the squad. It might just be that he's not up to internal standards of fitness because he did have an injury, but he's not been listed as injured. So it could be that they're just making sure that he's fit.
I think our midfield is strong. We've got, depending on obviously how preseason went, Onana is a big guy.
Our midfield is strong because we played 5 central midfielders.
Yeah, true. But I like Doucouré's actually taken a much more attacking role. Before, I think a few seasons ago, he was playing for us and he'd be very backwards passing and turn around, and his first port of call would be to send it back to Pickford or to a centre back. Whereas now he's actually getting up a lot more higher up the pitch, and he's actually sort of an attacking threat. And he scored good goals against Brighton when we won 5-1. So I think Onana, with his physicality and some of his tackling, is excellent, like the way he goes in. So you've got Onana and Doucouré. Iwobi was a very good player for us last season.
Young added something.
Very poor. Yeah,
Young
because
has
you've got
been
an
adding
attacking
something.
threat down the wing. And then you've got Garner as well, who I think I preferred him the first time he came to our club, but he's still a useful player. And Garner, who's very young and getting into the game and getting stuck in, I think he's one of the people's players where he gives it his all, and the fans really get behind him. So I'm liking our midfield at the moment. Obviously,
Yeah.
McNeil's injured. Calvert-Lewin is very, very injured. Well,
Lewis
I say
injurable. Lewis Dobbin came on as well, and he looked like he just like, right, I know what I've got to do. I want to do it.
And that's what we need. Sims obviously came on, scored against Chelsea last season. I was at that game and everyone loved that goal. It's just those sort of young, like, bursts of energy and talent, which is what we need to know where you are, to get forward. So there's potential, and obviously we've made a few signings like Danjuma. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. What is your prediction then for Fulham? First game of the season, coming back. Who
are they going to play? I don't know who they're going to play.
Or what's your prediction for the game?
Oh God! Before I do, I want to say that I think if they're playing Jimenez and Willian, because the previous game last season we lost 0-0 away. We lost 0-0. We drew 0-0 and we lost at home, but the home game was very scrappy. And funnily enough, Tarkowski, you were saying Keane's a liability. Tarkowski blindly poked the ball and nearly resulted in a goal for Fulham. But what happened was Wilson passed it into Reed. Reed crossed it that was the first goal. Reed crossed it over to Willian, who dinked it back for Wilson for the second goal. And the scrabble in the box was the defensive incapability that just occurred when the ball was lumped forward and James just ticked it back and got the goal. And funnily enough, McNeil, our only goal scorer, is injured, or the only goal scorer in that game was injured.
Yeah.
Is injured, so that's frustrating.
I just want to raise a quick point. It's something I saw in the comments. Obviously, everyone feel free to put your comments. We are reading them as we go along. Peter says the worst 3 performances last season were Chelsea away, Forest away, and Leicester away. Feel like we should have won, but the teams were poor, and we didn't make the subs when the team was fatigued. I think Dyche is very set in his ways. I think it was at Leicester we were all screaming for a sub, and he didn't make it. However, I would disagree. I don't think they were our worst performances at all. I actually think we did quite well, especially Chelsea. when can you recall a time where Everton were losing the game and we fought back not once but twice to get something from the game? Too many times are we in a losing position. Usually, if we get draws, it's because we've scored first and they've equalised, as opposed to pulling it back. So I was actually very happy with the way we played. I was at the Chelsea game. I wasn't at Forest, but I was also at Leicester. And especially considering it was Everton-Leicester, I think a point from that was important, and we were just trying to sit back and keep the result there because ultimately, again, kept us up.
That Forest game was infuriating.
Yeah, that's why I didn't mention that one, because that was annoying. But I think the other two, we actually did well to fight back and keep it where it was.
So TJ Mid reckons that you look like John Stones.
I wish I had his balling ability. Actually, I wish I had his paycheck. That's one thing I wish.
Yeah. So with that in mind, Willian is going to be a threat down the wing. If he's at the same standard that he has been, he's getting older, but he still seems to be able to turn it on in a slightly different way. He's matured into his age. His game style of play is very good for his age.
I really like Willian. I think he's a big threat, and we need to stay tight to him, not let him make runs and put a ball into the box. We need to be on top of that.
Yeah, and if Jimenez plays, although Paulinia's out, if Jimenez plays, and you'd like to, I mean, they're not going to change the philosophy massively, but you'd think that what kind of suits Willian and Jimenez playing together up front, and would it be Wilson on the? I don't know, but what would happen is you'd expect to see Fulham playing a more cohesive and joined up or fluid style of football. And so what we need to do, I think, is to cut down, cut that. Don't give them time on the ball to play. Because it looks like Fulham are looking to improve the quality of their football. So we need to be defensively tight and ordered, preemptive, close them down. Don't give them time on the ball to play, and don't give them time to play. Yeah, I think we need to be, as you say, we've got good tacklers in Onana, and hopefully Garner Gay can, keep up the interceptions, and Iwobi and Young can link up. So I really don't know. I mean, if we're at home, if there's a good showing, if we come out, my prediction, it would be nice to start the season with a solid 2-1, 2-0. I was going to say, I don't want to see us to concede a goal, but if we were, it'd be nice it would be great to show. I'm just trying to run through all the eventualities. If we concede a goal through some fluke or Fulham just happen to be that good and score a goal, I'd love to see us come back immediately and get a goal and look dominant and get a second goal or a third goal.
Yeah.
To look that we're not just going to win a match by one goal, but we're also going to have a resilience that demonstrates what we've got to go forward, that we're not just going to capitulate that we've been worrying about. Yeah, anyway, that's my prediction. 2-0. There we go.
Nice. I am very unsure. It depends what Everton team comes out, but I think Dyche has drilled in a different mentality into the team. I think defensively, we actually do look all right. And if we can control the midfield more and have that sort of central play and hold possession more, I think we're in a much stronger position. If we can get a goal, obviously with our injuries is not ideal. I think if we can push forward more, I don't see why we can't win this 2-1.
I will just say, sorry, to factor it in, FGA's there. I don't know if that's about me picking a silly argument for the sake of it or whether that's something going on in the comments. When I say about conceding a goal, it's simply because you look at the last 2 years and we do concede goals.
I think someone made a comment about Jagielka being a striker or something.
Oh, okay.
All
right, sorry.
Sure. But, I think a clean sheet would obviously be ideal. However, I think they do have a threatening team. They're very quick. They can counter well. And it's not going to be an easy game. Fulham have done well since last season as well. Obviously, we lost to them. We didn't beat them last season, did we? I think we drew and then we lost 3-1. So it's going to be interesting. If we're at home, the fans should be excited. It's a new season, a new start. Made some signings. It's a lot more to be positive about than last season. And as well as that, I think last season, I would argue that we were one of the weakest 3 teams in the league and we survived. on the last day and like the last half of the game. Whereas this season, I think there are 3 teams worse than us, if not more.
I do hate to say this. I hate to say this because look, I wouldn't say we as fans or the club or anything, but if we'd have been relegated last season, we would have deserved. I mean, obviously the table speaks for itself, the points, but we would have deserved it based on how we played, and it would have been horrible and heartbreaking.
But it's a new start. There's no reason to go back on any of that, and we just have to dig deep, play the way that Dyche is setting out the team, and get behind them. It's a fresh start. It's a new season, so I'm looking forward to it. Just addressing the comments as well. I've seen a few people have said, "Where have I come from?" or "What am I doing?" I've actually been with Follow Everton for a while. I just haven't made like many appearances at all. I finished uni like last year and started a new job, and I've been traveling a bit, so I haven't been very active on the channel at all. But this season, I'm looking forward to being a lot more involved. Hopefully, you will enjoy seeing me a lot more, but feel free to share your opinions.
Jonathan did sit next to you, sat next to me for the last game of the season.
Yeah, and
sorry
when Decore
that,
scored, don't say sorry. It was unbelievable. I don't think I could have sat next to someone better. Pure emotion, stamping the feet, screaming along. There wasn't a quiet minute in the game, and it was.
And I cried. I
even
cried.
Yeah, I was.
You get the whole spectrum.
Yeah, really did. So yeah, I'm going to say 2-1. What are you saying? 2-0?
2-0, 2-1. Covered our bases there. It's going to be 1-0 now, isn't it? Either that or 4-0. You know what? Yeah.
Yeah. What are your prediction, guys? Feel free to put them in the comments. We will be wrapping up shortly, though. So any final comments you want to put in? But we look forward to having you all with us today. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Even though this is live, we will be the video will be released later, so we'll see all your comments. So feel free to comment. And any final thoughts, Jan?
I mean, plenty of final thoughts, but that's what happens when you've got ADHD. No, I've made, and I will share it in another video because now's not the time. I've spent a lot of time on this one, rather foolishly. I've created an Excel workbook and worksheet. You've seen it, haven't you, Jonathan?
Yeah, a lot of time went into that.
It's got all the fixtures. Basically, what we're going to be doing is at some point soon, possibly when transfers have been finalised and we can see this is the squad for the foreseeable future for all 20 teams, it'll be nice to do a sort of prediction and see where everyone's going to finish or where it will be at Christmas and moving forward. Yeah, Kevin, you're asking for a poem. I'm afraid I've been having a tough time, I'm afraid, and I've just not been. I've taken a break from social media, from football, from everything. I've not been in a great place.
Who else do I look like? We've got John Stones. Apparently, I look like Courtois. I mean, I'll take it. I don't think there are a lot worse people I could look like, but yeah. Hi, Jazz. How you doing?
Oh yeah, sorry. It's the both of us going. Yeah, and on that note,
pleasure to see you all. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Share with a friend. Hopefully, we'll see some of you at the games, and hopefully, we will see you after Everton have beaten Fulham, and we'll sit top of the table at the start of the season. So yeah, have a good one, guys, and take care.